Hi, Richard, Love Brewing. Just wanted to run through the Filter Pro. This is something we've been waiting for about 6 years. So let me just have a little run through with you and you can see what it's all about. We've basically set it up here on a door. We have a bracket that sits on the door, which is attached from the far side. It also has a couple of screw holes through it, so if you do want to fix it as a permanent attachment, you can do onto your wall. So we've got the holding chamber here, we've got the long tube here which has the granular carbon in, and at the end we've got an on-off button, an on-off control. So all made of stainless steel, all rather nice, and really I think looks really professional. Looking at around £125, so it's not cheap, but also the other thing to remember is that it's quite large. So from bottom to top, you're not far off 2 meters. So it's a big piece of kit. Right, first thing they say to us is we need to flush it out just to make sure there's no dust or anything like that. So I'm just going to add some hot water to it. You hear that gurgling down into the column. So I've got 4 litres of nice hot water there just to run through. Now I've assembled this, and the thing that you must notice is that in the very bottom we have some little white filter papers. That's the little white filter paper that goes in the bottom. But for the cleaning purpose, I'm leaving this out, and then I'm also going to add carbon, and I'm going to flush the carbon, and I'm still leaving the white filter paper out. So what I'm going to do now is switch this on, and out comes the water that I've just added. So we've got 4 litres that's gone in there. You can see it's got quite a nice flow rate coming through it. So we've done the initial clean, which is only a one-off that we needed to do. I've now got my carbon, and we're going to add the carbon to it. As you can see, it's quite high up, and a little lad like me needs a set of steps. So my bag has got about 700 grams of the Spirit Works carbon in, and I'm just going to add that. I'm not going to add the full bag because it actually recommends that we only put in 500 grams. And 500 grams would fill the column, and there would just be a little bit left in the top so that you can see that you're actually full. So I'm just adding this to the chamber now. And we've got about 200 grams left in the bag. So that's in position now, and I'm just going to now get some more hot water. They recommend flushing this with hot water. Hot water is what they're recommending on this. The hot water activates the carbon better than cold, but at the end of the day, if you haven't got any hot water, then obviously you're going to have to use cold. And they do actually in the instructions say filtered water, but I've got to be honest, I think this is obviously covering all sorts of different countries, and I think probably in the UK our water is pretty efficient and pretty clean. So we're looking at 4 litres of nice hot water. Oh yes, nice and warm. Nice and warm. And in she goes. See a bit of dust coming off as well. And here's my second jug of 2 litres. So we've got 4 litres in there now. And I'm just about to switch on and let the water run through. We filled this with water, and it was about 5 minutes before it's actually started to drip through. So don't panic if that's the case. And you can actually feel on the tube, it's hot going down, and eventually it will get down to the bottom and it starts to drip. But it's dripping really quite slowly. I think we've got possibly a couple of hours of cleaning that carbon before we can actually run our alcohol through. So guess what? I've just made myself a gin and tonic, and I'm about to have it. And this is my gin and tonic. I absolutely load it with ice. I love cucumber in it. and I like a slice of lemon. So that's some gin, and we're going to put a bit of tonic in there as well. So, I always use Schweppes or Fever Tree. I think the quality of the tonic is really important to the quality of the gin and tonic that you're actually going to have. So a nice big one, and I think the glass as well just makes it as well. Nice big tumbler with the round. So yeah, I'm just going to have that while I'm waiting. I've got 2 hours, so I might even be able to get to it. Who knows? So now I've taken the lid off, I've got my alcohol, and don't forget this alcohol has to be less than 50%. I always like to dilute mine down to 40%. So 40% alcohol is going into the Pro filter. I've got about 6 or 8 litres to run through. It will take up to about 10 to 12 litres, so plenty to go at. I've got my jug here. I'm just finishing off my alcohol here. So this is, as I said, 40% alcohol into the Pro filter. And this is the last bit that's going to go in now. Oh, it's quite energetic, isn't it? Put the lid on. Up and down like a yo-yo, aren't I? Lid on. I'm now in position, ready to go, and I'm going to open up the valve. So we've got the on-off switch here for the liquid that's going to come through the column, or as it's coming through the column. And what we're looking for is we want 1 drip per minute. This needs to take 4 to 6 hours from start to finish. So if we open this and we open it up completely like that, it's going to run through in about 20-25 minutes. Whereas if we just gradually slightly just turn it, that will slow the flow rate down, and that will give us the 4 to 6 hours, because we need that alcohol spending maximum time in contact with the charcoal. So the valve's now opened up. There'll be a little bit of water comes through, because obviously we've got the water in there, but it's not going to make a big issue. It might dilute it very, very fractionally down to something like from 41 to 40 or whatever. So it's a small amount. Now, certain things we have to remember. When we're using the carbon in the tube, we don't want the carbon to dry out. So if you're going to use it and not all in one go, then what you need to do is make sure your alcohol keeps coming through and you don't let that carbon dry out. If that carbon dries out, it's not as effective. I actually think about 10 litres of 40% alcohol is sufficient in that actual column, and we should be then changing our carbon at the end of that run. Don't keep using the same carbon. We're talking probably 3 or 4 quid for the carbon, so it's a small cost, but it really is worthwhile to make sure the alcohol is clean and it really does work. Now, once that alcohol has run through, I'm going to collect it in the bucket down below. I should get as much as I've put in, and then what I'm going to do later on is I will take the alcohol and I'm going to put it through again. So I'm going to do a double run of the same carbon but with the same alcohol, and that really will make a benefit, and you really will taste the difference. The other thing to remember as well with the carbon filter is once you've tasted the alcohol, if you need to clean it again, change the carbon and run it through again. Every time you do it, it will get better and better and better in quality. So yeah, We've really got a good seal of approval for the Still Spirits Pro Filter. We think it's a great piece of kit, and we think, well, we're happy to recommend it. So fantastic.